Hey guys, Navin out on No Limit Hold'em. I guess I'm going to tell you this story. I had a couple people question me about this. So I posted a video and put it to public of this video that's coming up but with no audio. And why did I do that? And I said that, pay no attention or never mind, long story. The long story is basically this, that I was trying to, my goal was, the idea was to record some poker play, like some real poker play, just some hands at nl25 and nl10. And I did that, and then I just grabbed a match that I thought looked somewhat interesting, where I thought we could find some leaks that our opponents had, but that also where our opponent wasn't a complete fish, just a pushover, like a challenging game, but one that I felt like had a big edge in, like a reasonably but not crazily challenging game, something like that. So that's what you're about to see, with some commentary and some call-outs and whatnot. But when I went to actually make the video, I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it in Camtasia, so I had to bring it up on YouTube, but I couldn't get that to pop up on YouTube, so I had to take it off of unlisted or make it public, and that's why you might have ran into this NL10 or NL25 video with no audio. But here it is with the audio. And guys, if maybe you should watch this video even if you don't think that it's your exact cup of tea, especially if you're not crushing heads-up micros but you'd like to be, or if you're not crushing mid-stakes heads-up and you'd like to be, or if you're not crushing it micro-stakes poker and you'd like to be. It's one thing to get the concepts down, and I think that is the most important thing. It's the most important thing. It's the most important way to study, and the most important use of your study time, because you'll get the other stuff in, actually putting in the reps. But I think that there is definitely room to have some coverage of the in-between stuff. Spend some time watching like a video like this where you've got live play, but with somebody discussing the concepts that you've been studying. And hopefully, if you've been studying my poker content, then my poker discussion will be pertinent to the things that you've been studying. Yeah. Whew, that was a mouthful. So yeah, we're gonna get we're gonna get right on into it. This is just a guy that, honestly, when I was playing against this particular villain, I remember thinking that it might have been one of my own students. So if one of my this was a week ago, probably not quite a week ago, 5 days ago, 5 nights ago, and it was 2 heads-up matches, and then I got quit after I accepted the rematch, and after a very long time, the villain did not accept the rematch, and then I bounced back out into the lobby and played the same stakes. It was NL25. Pretty sure it was NL25. And I bounced back out into NL25, and I jumped into a game, and another guy jumped into the game, and I think it was the same player. So if that happened to you and you're my poker student, then this is you. This is a game against you. So namaste, bitches, word to your mothers, and east side till I die, and such. Enjoy the video, guys. Hey kids, it's your homie Navanad on NLH. So we're just gonna be checking out a game here, a match, a poker, a list of poker decisions. I was recording a bunch of gameplay to just try to find something interesting to get into. Okay, let's see. And this match came up. I played a few games against this guy, and I'm not sure, but it really does seem like it was a decent player, or in my memory it was. So I went through and, well, let's just take a look at some of these decision points and let me just get on with it. And if you don't really dig this kind of video, I understand, but I like to have some application of concepts also. I think it's useful. So even if you don't like it, maybe stick around and see why, I might choose to float king high
out of position against this villain here. It's like, because you know, he's going to c-bet that a lot, and he's going to be full of it a lot, and plus we have backdoor equity. So now I think we can go for the check call or the check raise. I think both are reasonable options, and I don't hate the idea of even folding, but you know, against the double barrel. But kind of a good way to think, like a pretty useful little rule of thumb that'll help your efficiency, your range efficiency, is if you're looking for bluffs, try to choose hands that are really close between calling and folding whenever possible. So like you typically want to find hands that are at the top of your fold range or the bottom of your calling range, and use those as your bluffs, because otherwise you're going to be bluffing with useless hands and folding not useless hands. And you don't want to just fold hands that are strictly better than hands that you will not fold. That's a little trick of the trade there. It's, you know, people that know it, that's going to sound obvious, but it's not so obvious if you think back about how convoluted this game used to be. 6-4 suited, I think, is just a really, really good hand to flat with. I think it's just too strong to 3-bet as a bluff, and it's too weak to 3-bet for value, so that means it's by definition a call. Well, assuming you're polarized in your 3-bet range. I mean, just a pretty standard open here with Queen Jack suited, and we're going to get into a little bit of strategic depth. I'm not going to go too deep. I wish this guy would play a little bit quicker. Sorry about that, but you know, it'll give me some time to talk concepts. So we can check back and just take our equity because he does have a range advantage. Maybe we could just check our entire range here. But in hindsight, I actually think that would have been a good hand to bet with, because I think I do want to bet like pocket eights, pocket sixes, and I will have straights on occasion, not quite as often as him. But if I'm ever going to value bet, then I need to have some bluffs for balance. And I think if I'm going to have some bluffs, Queen Jack with a gutter, 2 overcards, and a backdoor flush draw is probably a pretty good one to use. But I mean, you know, the check back is fine too. It's even got some showdown value. Oh, some showdown value. Like we can just try to show it down and win with our queen high. No, I mean, it's fine. It's fine to bluff here. We really don't have that much showdown value because, like, how can he not have a pair, an ace, or a king, or a straight? It's super hard for him to actually, yeah. The one thing, it's been a while since I played this game, but this match, I played 3 games with this guy. If you want to see more of it, I recorded all of it. Yeah, let me know. So now here we don't have king high for showdown value, we don't have any kind of equity, we don't have king 10 for our gutter ball. We just have to fold. That's what we have to fold. Range advantage is a real thing, guys. It's not a thing like in theory, and it doesn't matter. Like, a lot of people think that range advantage only matters against players that know what they're talking about, know what they're doing, and like, if he's not thinking in that way, then it doesn't matter, but that's just not true. I mean, range advantage doesn't just suddenly disappear just because your opponent doesn't know about range advantage. It's not a psychological thing, it's a math thing. Yeah, see, if that was a normal size 3-bet, and if I thought my opponent was either polarized and balanced, or bluff heavy, or just not value heavy, I would have called. I mean, Queen 10's a really good hand to call 3-bets with. But when your opponent is under bluffing, and he sizes up, you should be pretty tight with your continued range. This would have been a really interesting spot had he raised, whether to 3-bet or flat king 10 suited. I think that as a default, I like to 3-bet it, but if being that my default opponent is a little bit more sticky than he probably ought to be, so I do it for value, because I think that players will call with like suited kings that you'll dominate, and I think that they'll also call with a lot of suited 10x and just some not suited 10x and some not, like hands like Queen 10, Jack 10, 10 9, 10 8, 10 7 suited, King 9 suited, King 8 suited. I think a lot of those are going to flat your 3-bet. So if your opponent's a little bit on the sticky side, I think shifting King 10 suited kind of making your 3-bet range a little bit more mergy against stations is often a good idea. And maybe I shouldn't say things like mergy. That can be confusing. This is a really good hand to go for the 4-bet with. He's been 3-betting enough. I hope I don't puss out here. Gotta be careful about. Oh, that's too big. What if he jams? He does jam. I remember this. Fuck. I don't remember what I did. Yeah, I do. Yeah, this guy is kind of a pain in the ass, huh? Yeah, that's really tough. I remember this now. I actually ran the numbers. I was gonna have this Flopzilla open. I wonder if I still have it up. That's that's YouTube. I'm recording this from the YouTube video. I'm trying to open Flopzilla in real life, and that's not gonna work, is it? Doesn't work, kids. You can try it. Try to open Flopzilla. It's not gonna work for you either. But I did run the numbers, and yeah, I don't remember it. It was super freaking close. It was super close, and that just means I should have either jammed or I should have just sized my bet down a little bit, like any amount. You know, if I would have shaved 20 or 30 off that thing, it would have been an easy fold. Don't give your opponent perfect all-ins. That's what I did. I just gave him the ability to put me in the complete hurt locker. That was a bad 3-bet sizing. It wasn't that bad, but it was a little bad. Definitely could have been better. Should have sized down or jammed. If you're not going to be able to fold to a 4-bet, or if it's going to be real hard to fold to a 4-bet, then you can't make, or I'm sorry, a 5-bet, then you can't make a light 4-bet that's not all in. Let me say that again, okay? If you're going to make a raise that is going to commit you to the pot, you should be jamming. Because otherwise you're giving your opponent the option to jam or to flat. So he's got two choices. He can do whatever works better for him. He can either flat or he can jam. Or fold, of course. But you don't have an option, because if you have to call when he jams, then he gets to decide whether we play for stacks or not. So I don't get that strategic option back. But he does have a strategic option that he can exercise. He can flat and take a flop before he decides whether to commit more chips to the pot, or he can jam, and if his hand plays better that way, if you're stuck to it, then you may as well have just jammed yourself, because like if you think about it, when you just jam instead, let's say instead of 3-betting, when a 4-bet would be all in, then it's better to just overbet or underbet than it is to make a kind of committing 3-bet. And if you definitely do commit yourself to calling a jam, then why not? Why would you not just have jammed yourself? Because think of it like this: if you're gonna stack off, if your opponent jams, then when your opponent jams and you stack off, you're playing against the range he wants you to play against. Every time you get all in, you're like in bad shape. But if you just jam, then sometimes he folds, and sometimes he calls and he's like, shit, I don't really want to call. And it puts him in a bad spot. But don't think of it too much along those lines. Think of it more just that if you're going to be stuck to playing for all of the chips, if your opponent decides to rip it, then you may as well go all in yourself, just because it gives you more strategic options. Or it gives your opponent more strategic options when you don't do that. Yeah, something like that. I think that's an important concept that nobody ever talks about. This is an interesting decision. Yeah, I think this is right. I mean, we can flat or we can jam. I think they're both kind of right around the 50-50 ballpark. I don't remember what he had. Sorry, I covered it up with this fetching Miss Cleo. Miss Cleo's from the Psychic Friends hotline, if you guys don't remember hotlines and telephones, landlines. She did commercials where it was like the psychic hotline. You call in and she tells you like when you're gonna die and who you're gonna marry and which one of your kids is a dick and stuff like that. So Miss Cleo is like a psychic, and that's why I put the Miss Cleo thing there, because Homeboy here can apparently read my mind or see my hands because he's just putting me in it. I remember trying to get some conversation sparked. I hate that they took away the ability to actually type in what you want to type in, because part of the idea, like one of the things you can do on a lot of, well, I think just like every other, well, let's watch this hand. Okay, so chuck call on flop, I think was just right. Our hand would have been ridiculously played any other way. Then we bink the 2 pair on the river, and homeboy's like, what's he got exactly? Queen 8 or like 7 to 8? Bullshit. He doesn't have exactly 8-7. Well, mother, well, monkey, well, buddy, well, Miss Cleo, sniff this one out. Like, yeah, so I do have exactly 8-7. So, sometimes you just have to go for it, even though you're going to be completely transparent. Because you're never completely transparent, because people can't hand read. Let me see what the hell that hand was. I limped this because I thought he might be in spaz out mode, and I do want to limp some hands against this opponent with this number of blinds, so I have to have some stronger hands in my limping range. And even though if I had like 15 big blinds, I wouldn't necessarily want to limp ace queen, because it's not a great hand to trap with in general. Like 15 or 16, 17, 18 big blinds, I think it's really risky. Same with ace king even. But with this few big blinds, I think it's fine. I mean, you're in pretty damn good shape against what this guy is, what he should be jamming with when he's got like, 3.2 big blinds or whatever. Like 12, 11, 10. Especially if you have a lot of incentive to play flops because you think you've got a pretty good read on your opponent. Which I don't think this guy was playing that poorly. I just think I kind of had a feel for how he was playing. So here we just have a really standard c-bet. I mean, he is going to connect with that board fairly frequently, but we can take the ace-x out. A lot of his ace-x just comes off, because he would have 3-bet a lot of it, and he may have just 3-bet ripped all of his aces. Some players will do that. So he's not going to have, that's a big number of the hands I would otherwise call. And plus it's just it's a decent board to c-bet anyway. I mean, the ace and the 10 are, your opponent's usually going to have something a lot of times on an ace 10x two-tone board, but when you can take out a lot of the ace-x, it helps a whole hell of a lot. And I mean, you can have all that stuff too, so you rep it really hard. Like, we rep everything on that. But it's, yeah, if we weren't at this blind level, it would be still a c-bet, I think, but just not as good a c-bet. But I guess I just wanted to get a video out, guys, so hopefully that wasn't too boring. And let me know if you want to see the other games. I think there were 2 other matches. And until next time, Navanad. Oh, and yeah, I do want to get some, I'm going to have some content back on very soon. But I guess that's my cue to go. Namaste, bitches.